Please welcome Dr. Nguyen Tom Griggs.
Have you ever had an encounter with a stranger that tested your character so severely, so deeply, they almost met the scariest version of you? Well, for me, it was on a hot, brutal summer afternoon. I went to check my business mailbox, and I had to park far away. And as I'm approaching the front door of the business, I'm almost there, about to get out of this miserable heat, when the stranger arises and says this: "Hey, man. Yeah, you. I want you to know something. I'm for real. You got me." All I've gotten is confused and a little more miserable from the heat. So I ask him, "I'm sorry, what was that?" And he goes, "Oh, you heard me. I told you. I'm for real." I kid you not, I get clenched double fist, lean in, he kind of shows his teeth, and he puffs out his imaginary chest. So now I'm frustrated because I'm dealing with this odd conflict, standing outside in the heat, getting ever more miserable. I try and resolve it peacefully by saying, "You know what, well, that's good to know. God bless you, sir. You have a good day." And I walk away, but I'm watching him, hoping he won't do something foolish. "Oh, so you try to be funny." He takes this unnecessarily theatrical stomp, step, intimidation thing forward, and I snap because I'm dealing with this mess, I'm tired, and I figured, well, it's already hot, so if he wants some more heat, I'm about to give it to him, and I have a pause. I have what I call a moment of reflection. And instead, I just told him, "Hey, man, look, go about your business, okay? Go about your business." And I enter the store, I face the entrance, and I assume my tomcat attack stance. If he comes to that door, I'm gonna tell you right now, he's gonna get tore up from the ceiling to the floor. Luckily, he didn't enter. I watched him walk away, where he very wisely decided to what? Go about his business. What spared that gentleman a great deal of pain and suffering that day was that pause. But it was also followed by what? That moment of reflection. And what I learned within that moment of reflection is what I want to share with you. It's a process I call reflective resilience. And the whole point is to help us find a better way to combat life's more chaotic moments. Resilience, as you know, is the capacity to adapt to stress and bounce back from adversity and challenge. We're getting plenty of that, I know. The reflective portion is the thinking about our thoughts, thinking about our feelings, and thinking about how that informs our actions in those moments of stress and adversity. Some of my friends and colleagues in the world of social work and counseling will know this as the basis of cognitive behavioral therapy. Thank you all for that. So let's apply it to the situation. What did I do in this instance of conflict? I found a what? A more peaceful resolution. How did I do it? By using strong, assertive, but respectful body language and wording. And why did I do it? Because, ladies and gentlemen, a peaceful outcome speaks more to who I am than any other kind of anything else I could do. And believe me when I tell you, he did get the better end of that deal by walking away. As we all know, inquiry is the basis of all learning and knowledge. So one of the ways you can implement the reflective resilience process is really ask 3 questions. First, what's stressing me out right now, and how is it affecting me? We all carry stuff on our plate, right, from day to day. I had gone to my mailbox to look for a late payment check from a client. There was no parking, traffic was getting worse. And did I mention it was hot and I was kind of miserable, to say the least? Here he comes with his mess, and it adds to my stress. What happens? We just have a stacking effect. If I had met his aggression with equal aggression, then we just had a big mess that I didn't want to deal with. It would have turned out to be foolish, violent, and doesn't speak to who I am. That being said, it was better that I've helped to usher in a more peaceful resolution to the situation. The second question is, how does your upbringing and background affect how you deal with stress and adversity? Ladies and gentlemen, I grew up in very violent, rough neighborhoods here in Houston, okay? Those types of misunderstandings I described in the beginning usually resulted in terrible, awful, regrettable outcomes. I've seen too much loss. I've seen too much heartbreak. I want none of it. I'm not a violent person. That being said, I don't like bullies or people who start trouble for no good reason. Unbeknownst to that gentleman, I have multiple black belts in a variety of martial arts. I've been practicing for 30 years, and I'm currently a senior instructor in Japanese Jiu-Jitsu at a dojo here in Northwest Houston. So I know a thing or two, or 20, about dealing with challenging people who want to engage in physical conflict. I told you he got the better deal. He wasn't ready for the tomcat stance. I'm telling y'all, just don't know. Y'all thought I was joking. And lastly, would you be willing to change how you deal with conflict for a happier life? Let's just be honest. Sometimes the way we deal with the stress and the hard stuff adds to the problem. No judgment. It's just how it is. Because that's how we've learned. But changing how we deal with the difficulties and the challenges are really important in finding that level of happiness. In 2012, Southwick and Charney did a study of personal resilience. One of their findings was people who regularly review and make adjustments to their personal well-being practices experience a greater level of content. In 2013, Lyubomirsky's study on happiness concluded that it is your mental state, your mindset, that is far more important than your initial emotional response to a moment of crisis and a moment of challenge. So it goes without saying, if you want something different, you have to be willing to make some changes. You know, the big idea is really simple. Can we practice a little of that reflective resilience? Can we kind of push ourselves to make some adjustments to how we do things? Some of us are what? Some of us, when we have a problem, we meet it head on. That's fine. Some of us are a little more laid back. We take our time and see what happens. These aren't bad approaches, but can you just make tweaks and adjustments to see what would happen? Remember, if you want different outcomes, you need to take on different approaches. The gentleman in this story reminds me of a guy I knew growing up when I was a little boy. So I told you, I grew up in some hoods around Houston, and this guy's nickname was Hard Times. So if your nickname is Hard Times in the hood, So I'm a little boy, and I asked my dad, I'm like, Daddy, why do they call Mr. Hard Times that name? And my dad's like, he's working on an engine or something. He's like, well, son, he's made some bad choices. He's done some things that's made his life kind of hard, so that's how he lives. He just chooses to live hard. And I thought to myself, even as a little kid, why would anyone choose to live hard? And my dad pulled off his old baseball cap and did the whole scratch your head and think about it. He just kind of looked for a minute, and he stopped. He put his hat back on, and he simply said, son, hard is the only way some people know how to live. And as I look back to my great dad, my late great dad, Robert L. Griggs, I say, yes, and hard is a way that far too many of us choose to live even when we know we have better options. Perhaps practicing how we deal with the difficulties, how we address adversity, can take a little of the edge off. So I ask, as we go forward, can you dream about a life where, it'd be nice to have less challenge and problems. Maybe you can dream about a life where you better deal with the adversity. Can we dare to do something different? Dare to put our well-being first, even if it means going against our culture and upbringing. Do prioritize your health and well-being and your happiness. Far too many of us go through life thinking we can do it alone. We got this. We have networks. We have community. There's therapy. There's many things that can help you grow in those areas. So I ask, as we move forward, that you please choose well, choose wisely, and choose your happiness. Thank you.
That was Dr. Nguyen Tom Griggs.